Alright guys, what's up? Okay, let's get straight down to the business. No fluff today. Welcome to the Daily Cookie. So yeah, let's jump right into it guys, okay? So today's vlog will be about picking teams and solo queue picking shapers. And also the role of the jungler in a team comp. In a team. Yeah. So I'm just gonna quickly give you guys a really fast way to pick, right? So you should have a little checklist beside you in your head, a little mental checklist, right? The little mental checklist is, do I have a tank? So this is how it goes. Yes. Okay, don't need to pick a tank. Do I have a support? So sorry, let me rephrase that. Do we have a laning tank? If yes, go forward. Do we have a jungle tank? If yes, step forward. Do we have a support? If yes, step forward. Do we have an AD carry? If yes, step forward. Do we have a mage? Well, no, because you're the only person who hasn't picked the shaper yet, so you pick your mage. Get it, guys? Oh, and mages are not. So here's what my definition of a mage is not. Dibs, Zeri, Amarith. King of Masks is depending. If King of Masks is fed, King of Masks is very good. If King of Masks is not fed, King of Masks is more like a support. True. Oh, and Kindra and Ferris are not. They're assassins. Remember that. They are assassins, not mages. They do not count as mages. Really, from the way I put it, Zalgus and Fenimore are really the only mages, and King of Masks occasionally. I'm gonna put King of Masks back in that mage category because you know what, King of Masks does deserve to be considered a mage. Because I don't really want to put him with the supports. So that's kind of what you want to think about. Think about that way. Like, do I have this? Yes. Okay. Sorry. Continue. Right? So if you don't have an AD carry, pick an AD carry, but only pick one. Pick one. Don't pick three. Don't pick two. Don't say I'm going to put Michaela in lane with Fenimore and then let Fenimore farm, because that doesn't make sense. Or, like I've seen before, let me put Michaela in lane with Volek and let Volek farm. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. So guys, let's just go this out the window. Pick smart, okay? Pick smart. If you pick smart, you up your chances of winning. 80% of your game is determined. 50% of your game is determined by shaper select. 30% of your game is determined by your dumb mistakes. Your dumb mistakes and your great accomplishments in game. Okay? Now the other 20% is completely up to the enemy team and your team. So if you say to me, I did my 1%, my 10% in team select right, and I did my 30% in game right, then yes, okay. Now some people will be like, well, wouldn't you only have 10%? No, because you can solely throw the game by yourself. That's it. If you cannot hold your weight, you will throw the game yourself. So every person individually has to realize that 30% of the game's result will result all on them. If you carry and that idiot over there through the game, it was your fault for not telling him what to do. Oh, and people, if someone tells you what to do and they're carrying you, just listen. Just follow along. Like, if they don't say, fuck you, you're shit, I hate you, if they say, hey, dude, just, can you stick with us? Can we just file up, stay together, and, like, just play as a ball, play as a unit? If that's the carry, right, or that person, the support, who has been making all these great calls, listen, don't tell them to fuck off if they don't usually do what they say. So, yeah, that's pretty much how you would win a game. Because 30% of it so the 50% in shaper select is, I picked a stupid fucking team with no CC, with tons of damage, but everyone's squishy. Well, guess what? You're gonna lose the game. But if you say, oh, we picked a really good team with everything we're gonna need, with a tank, with a support, with another tank, with a carry and a mage, we have an excellent chance of winning. So we're going 50%. We've won that. We've won that already. So now in game, if you each do your 30% to carry the game, you will win the game no problem. No, then it goes for both ways. It's the math doesn't make any sense but it's all about you. It's a singularity. That's what I'm trying to point out. It's a singularity, not a team concept. It's a singularity in the math, but it's a team concept. It's really weird. It's really weird way to look at it, but it works. Um, so yeah, that's all I'm gonna talk about. So just pick smart, guys. Just make sure you're picking the right things, and you'll win. You'll see your win rates go up a lot. You'll see your wins come easier and your win rates go up. Alright, so let's talk about junglers now. Okay, so junglers, realistically, you want to stick with kind of like a tankier jungler, right? Things like Moya and Volk are really good at carrying games, but when they're behind, you're really bad at. You're kind of detrimental to your team. I mean, Moya less than Volk because Moya's ultimate is really good at being Moya's like because it's good. You can pick someone out, right? But Volk is a detriment to his team and not tanky. Same with Petrus. So I mean, you're gonna want to always build tank. Like, I've seen Moyas carry games because they have ruin and shit, but I mean, what does that really matter, right? Like a fed Moya is great, but a tank Moya is probably better. I mean, because I can pick you up, I can dive the enemy team, stun everyone, pick up my target, and then bring them back. And guess what? I can get another stun off or another 2 stuns off. But when you're a squishy Moya, you're probably gonna die because you'll just be blown up when you jump in. So yeah, and you really do want something that offers more than just one kind of gimmicky CC. So like that's why I kind of like Jungle Desecrator. It gives you a lot of choices. You can stun the enemy team, you can stun the divers, you can knock up the divers, you can knock up the enemy team. Things like Cerulean are a little more gimmicky, but he's very good at ganking. Petrus has 2 forms of CC, Salus has 2 forms of CC, Mara has 2 forms of CC, Kagan has 3 forms of CC, Kel has 3 forms of CC. Desecrator has 2 forms of CC. I forgot about that. Moya has 2 forms of CC. Desecrator, Volk has 1 form of CC, and so does Cerulean. So you see, kind of like where my, kind of like those are your typical junglers. Oh, and Freya has 2 forms of CC, but Freya's also incredibly squishy and a carry. She's a different breed. She's more into she's like Volk and Moya, but worse because she's not tanky at all. But I don't talk about Freya very often. So what you're going to want to do is remember, your CC isn't going to always be thrown at the enemy carry or the enemy team. You're going to want to sometimes throw it back to for your team. You're going to want to protect your carry sometimes. You're going to want to dive the team sometimes, depending on who you're playing, depending on the way this game's going. So a jungler should always be able to help and hurt the enemy team and help his team. So just remember that when picking your jungler. So if you have like a Vex and you have like a Fenmore, now these are 2 people who really need a lot of help. You need to pick something like a Kagan who can actually help, or a Mara who can provide a lot of CC, or even a Kel who can stop people from getting through, or Petrus if Petrus can kick them back, stun and kick them back, right? But if you have a Miquella and a King of Masks, actually, not a Fenmore. Sorry, Zalgus. Put Vex and Zalgus instead of Fenmore. But if you have like a Miquella and a King of Masks, or a Miquella and a Fenmore, or like a variant in a King of Masks, right? You can pick something a little more aggressive. So you can pick something like a Cal because he can dive forward. You can pick a Cerulean because he can dive forward. You can pick the Petrus because he can dive forward. But if you need defensive ones, you really do want Mara, and you really do want Kagan, and you really do want Desecrator as your junglers. I mean, obviously I don't mean them as like Mara and Desecrator are great junglers. I'm saying no, you kind of can get away with them more on that kind of a comp because they're better appealing for your carries. So yeah, that's basically what I want to say about that is just pick what you need. Pick someone who can dive, but someone who's really good at peeling. If you have immobile carries, but if you have mobile carries, pick someone who's really good at diving who can peel. See what I'm saying? Like, who's really good at diving and can peel for mobile carries, and someone who can dive but has really good peel for immobile carries. It makes sense as a jungler. You have a lot of responsibility. So yeah, that's jungling. That's being a jungler and in a team comp. I know there's a lot of stuff, but I'm not as versed in everything else to talk about it. But I do know what wins and what doesn't. So, a little bit more. Let's talk quickly about. Oh, so I'm just gonna say what I saw yesterday. Kagan's hook, guys, is really strong, but in only certain circumstances. Do not use Kagan's hook to pick someone, try to like bring the enemy team to your team. Because I saw people doing this a lot yesterday, where they'd hook 5 people in the enemy team. So like my Kagan hook 5 people in the enemy team, or I'd hook 3 or 4 people in the enemy team, bring them all in, and then they would just turn and kill us because their engage is so easy now, right? Kagan's hook is incredibly powerful, but it can be detrimental to your own team. So that's one thing. My guesses on Salus being a god are true, because Salus's Q range is now so long that when you can actually land Salus's Q, he is absolutely devastating. And the stun duration really makes it impossible to get away from. It's kind of like an Elise E, like the Elise Cocoon. Volek is not that strong, like I said. So yeah, that's pretty much all I saw yesterday. Salus is a god. Kagan is really good at everything, kind of. And Volek kind of sucks even worse now. So yeah, that's so quick rundown. Pick smart. Junglers, remember you need to pick a shaper that can peel. Depending on your team, can peel and can dive. And is better at one than the other, but can do both. And third, Salus God. Kagan, very, very good. Probably going to need to get, once his Q bug gets fixed, will be fine. I think there's a Q bug, I'm not even sure anymore. And Volek sucks. Well, Volek is still very strong, but is not as godlike as before. Okay, so that's that. So guess what time it is, guys? It's item corner time! Woohoo! Item corner time! Yeah! I'm sorry, today was really, really dry, but I felt like I needed to talk about that. So today's item corner time! Item corner time! Woohoo! Item corner time! What are we going to talk about today? What item are we going to do? What shall we do today? What shall we do today? What shall we do today? What shall we do? Alright, so our item of the day is going to be... Sorry guys, I'm just trying to pick something out here. Well, I guess it's probably inevitable for me to talk about this. But the conversation for today is inevitability! Ha! Bad pun as usual, not as funny as always. I even didn't make myself laugh with that one. But it is inevitable. I was going to talk about this. Inevitability is a power item that builds out of control. It costs $29.75, and it gives you 500 health, 30 power, and it gives you unique passive Frost 2. Dealing damage will slow the target for 1 second based on the type of attack used. Range basic attacks are 25%, melee basic attacks are 40%, single target abilities are 35%, and AoE dot abilities are 15%. So inevitability is incredibly good at helping peel for carries. Now I do not believe that carries need this. Carries probably need to buy Pursuit, which we'll talk about another day. But tanks buy it for your carries. So like as a 6th item, gives you 500 HP, gives you some power, gives you some damage. Things like Kagan can really make this kind of shit work, because Kagan does so much persistent damage and persistent abilities that he can make it work. Things like Volek with his ultimate. Volek also an incredibly good zoning tool, and with inevitability, you really do have something there. Things like Desecrator can use it because your ultimate is a dot ability and gives 50% slow. People like Salus with your ultimate, and so your E and Q will be able to slow now, so making your ult setups even easier and your stun setups even easier. So that is inevitability. Inevitability should be bought a lot of times, I think, but I don't think there's really ever a bad time to say inevitability, to build inevitability. But don't ever rush it. It's a bad thing to rush. So on that, I will leave you guys for today. So remember, pick smart, junglers, pick something that can peel and dive, and inevitability is a really good item, and you should look to use it if you can, and if you can afford it. Alright, so goodbye, later days, and remember, tomorrow we will be back, and I will be possibly talking about EULCS standings. And if you didn't see the OGN match last night, Game 2 between Zenex Storm and Najin White Shield, if you want to see some crazy shit go down, go watch that game, because it was really fun. Alright, later days, guys.